Today, we're diving into a really powerful story. It starts in a place of absolute terror, but it ends with a lesson for all of us. A lesson about control, fear, and how you can reclaim your own freedom. Okay, just imagine this for a second. You're in total darkness. The car stops, and then bam! You're hit with this blinding, painful light. It's completely disorienting, totally jarring, and it is the very first thing the narrator of our story remembers. And this one detail changes everything. See, this isn't some action hero story. It's a child's memory. The feeling of vulnerability is just immediate. His own father pulls him out of that trunk and sets him on the ground. He hears this awful crying sound, and in his 8-year-old mind, he thinks it must be babies. But look closely. Those words are never actually spoken out loud. Even at that age, he already knows that asking questions isn't safe. Fear is a language he's already learned to speak.
The whole scene is just this absolute assault on the senses. You can almost feel the crunch of gravel underfoot. Hear those wails getting louder, more agonizing. There's this sharp, coppery smell in the air, the smell of blood. And flies, they're everywhere. Every single sense is just screaming that something is terribly, terribly wrong here.
And here it is, the gut punch of a realization. A rusted red door swings open, and that innocent idea he had is just completely shattered. The truth is just brutal. He's standing in the middle of death, and he's forced to watch as these animals are killed one by one. The screams start, and then they just stop. His father doesn't even flinch, but the boy is completely frozen in terror. You see, that terrifying memory, it wasn't just random. It wasn't just cruelty for cruelty's sake. No, it was a lesson, a very carefully engineered lesson. And it's a perfect, if horrifying, example of how fear can be used to manufacture total control over another person. The butcher, literally covered in blood, walks right up to the boy and delivers this chilling threat. It's not a suggestion, right? It's a command. He's directly linking obedience with survival, and disobedience with ending up just like them. All while the boy's father just stands there, saying nothing, which is its own kind of approval.
So what we're really talking about here is psychological conditioning in its rawest form. It's about weaponizing fear to install a very simple, very brutal program into someone's head. Obey or you will be destroyed. The end goal is to bend their will so much that they start to police themselves.
And this is where it gets really insidious. That threat from the outside, eventually it becomes a voice on the inside. You start to believe that you're weak, that asking questions is just too dangerous, that your only safe option is to comply. You end up mistaking your captor's story for your own reality.
But this is so much bigger than just one horrible memory. What happened in that slaughterhouse, it isn't some isolated thing. That exact same pattern, using fear to maintain control, it scales up. It goes from personal trauma to the huge systems that govern all of our lives.
Just think about it for a second. In a classroom, it might not be a knife, but the fear of being shamed by a teacher can definitely keep you quiet. At work, that unspoken threat of losing your job, your livelihood, that can stifle new ideas and dissent just as effectively as a locked door. And at a national level, well, fear is often the tool used to justify more surveillance or taking away rights, all in the name of keeping us safe. The method is the same, it's only the weapon and the scale that change.
Now, when this pattern gets really widespread, it can lead to this fascinating and frankly terrifying state called hypernormalization. It's where basically everyone knows things are wrong, that the system is absurd, but they just go along with it anyway, because the idea of actually challenging it feels completely impossible. The entire structure, the whole thing, is held up by one single powerful lie they need you to believe. Every system of control, from a schoolyard bully to an oppressive government, needs you to believe one thing: fighting back is useless. Your feeling of helplessness is their source of power.
But here's the good news. Recognizing that you're in a cage is the very first step to leaving it. Because no matter how deep the conditioning goes, the source material here is very clear. There is always a way out, and it starts with reclaiming your own agency.
The path forward really has 3 key steps. It starts with just consciously admitting where you've accepted that feeling of helplessness. Then, from there, you have to start actively questioning the stories, the ones you tell yourself and the ones others tell you, that say change is impossible. And finally,
And this is so important. You have to take small, deliberate actions that are entirely your own. I mean, just look at this comparison. It's like two different worlds, isn't it? On one side, you've got the mindset of captivity, just passively accepting things, feeling powerless. But on the other side, you have reclaimed autonomy. That's about critical thinking, taking ownership of your choices, and engaging in those small, deliberate acts of defiance. And what's really amazing is that you don't need some huge, dramatic revolution to get started. Science actually shows that even tiny victories, small choices where you assert your own will, can begin to physically rewire your brain. Each one of those choices weakens that cycle of learned helplessness. So this all brings us to the final and most important point. Breaking free isn't something that just happens to you. It's a conscious choice. It is a decision that has to be made, both by individuals and by all of us together.
The big takeaway here is this. The cages we find ourselves in, they're usually not made of steel. They're built from psychological barriers. They're built from the lies someone told us in a place like a slaughterhouse and the fears we decided to accept along the way.
And that forces us to ask a really direct, kind of uncomfortable question. Are we just going to keep accepting the absurd? Are we going to keep playing this game of hyper-normalization, pretending that the unacceptable things happening all around us are, well, just the way things are?
Or are we going to make a different choice? Are we going to see the pattern, question the narrative, and start taking those small, deliberate actions to reclaim the future? Because according to this story, that choice is, and it always has been, entirely ours to make.